Blake Lively developed some feelings for Justin Baldoni. Ryan Reynolds is now abusing his wife. That's scary. That's narcissism.
Ryan Reynolds is absolutely losing it after finding out that Blake had real feelings for Baldoni from the very beginning.
He's basically saying, I will burn down my entire house. I will burn down your career.
And honestly, that's got to hurt, realizing your wife had a thing for someone else all along. But hey, maybe Ryan should take a hard look in the mirror too.
Is Blake Lively a beard? Like, is she there just to produce kids and to give him that family image?
I'm not saying Blake is perfect. She's got her own issues for sure. But let's be real, it's no shock that a woman stuck in a controlling or miserable marriage isn't exactly thriving.
They're constantly making gay jokes, trying to kiss each other on camera.
No matter how perfect Blake and Ryan seemed on the surface, they had some serious issues. Definitely not the kind where you just argue about who's doing the dishes.
What we are observing is essentially a ticking time bomb, a timer on Ryan Reynolds' ego.
Just imagine how difficult it must be living with a man who's been rumored to be hiding his true self. That's probably why, even after 8 years of marriage, Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's connection was much deeper than just a professional one.
Blake Lively has nothing to do with what is happening. Her husband has come undone. Blake Lively developed some feelings for Justin Baldoni.
While filming It Ends With Us, Blake and Baldoni formed a deep emotional bond, strong enough to suggest that her feelings went way beyond just acting.
Has happened to her. She has, been in love with Penn Badgley from, Gossip Girl, then she got with Ryan Reynolds.
This emotional affair, though barely talked about at first, quickly became a huge source of drama once it was exposed. What started as just another Hollywood romance turned out to be way more complicated, bringing betrayal, insecurity, and even a messy legal battle into the mix.
All these people, they're on set, and their job is to sell that they're falling in love. And a lot of times, as we see with actors and actresses, it actually happens. And there's no question in my mind that Blake Lively caught real feelings for Justin Baldoni.
And hold on, if you think I'm making this up, think again. In the documentary she said, Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni, which aired on Monday, Mia Shaker outright claimed that the former co-stars had what seemed like a close friendship, right up until Blake accused him of sexual harassment, which of course he denies.
He claims civil extortion, defamation, and that all of this really is about her wanting to have control of the movie.
While Blake claimed that Baldoni crossed certain boundaries, those who have followed the case closely suggest that what really happened was an emotional affair.
This isn't just a fluffy celebrity feud. The actual story is, I think, a lot darker and a lot more complex than that.
Lively wasn't necessarily a victim of harassment. Instead, she was a woman who had developed real feelings for her co-star. And it seems like both Baldoni and Reynolds were completely caught off guard by it.
The thing is why I say this is not a real lawsuit, and Ryan Reynolds knows this, is because he's got everything on camera, okay?
The lawsuit that followed, with all its legal twists and turns, is really just the fallout from this emotional connection, an affair that spiraled into something far messier than anyone could have imagined.
He says, this whole idea is like a sexual harassment. She invited him to her penthouse and he was holding her baby. The guy that sexually harassed, you're not having him to your house and letting him hold your kid.
As details of their relationship began to emerge, it became clear that Ryan Reynolds wasn't just a bystander in all of this. The media frenzy wasn't just about Blake Lively's accusations or Justin Baldoni's response. It was fueled by Reynolds' own insecurities.
What is happening now, in my view, is Ryan Reynolds is now abusing his wife.
Once Reynolds realized his wife had an emotional attachment to Baldoni, he became obsessed with the idea that his perfect family image was crumbling. What felt innocent to Lively felt like a deep betrayal to Reynolds, pushing him to lash out in a way that many would say was completely over the top. Reynolds' involvement in the drama was obvious from the start. He was the driving force behind the lawsuit. While the public fixated on the harassment allegations, many experts and insiders believe the real reason for the legal battle was Ryan's bruised ego. He couldn't stand the thought that his wife, Blake, might have developed feelings for someone else while they were still together. That sense of ownership and possessiveness pushed him to take extreme measures, using the lawsuit as a weapon to regain control. Rather than treating it as a real case of harassment, Reynolds used the lawsuit to send a clear message to both Baldoni and Lively. He wouldn't let anyone jeopardize the flawless image of his life. The way Reynolds has handled this entire situation makes it clear. His main concern wasn't justice or even the truth. It was about keeping control over his wife and protecting his carefully crafted public image. The lawsuit became his way of punishing both Lively and Baldoni, almost as if erasing the emotional affair could somehow restore his control over the relationship. What's even more alarming is that Reynolds' need for control didn't stop with the lawsuit. His public image paints him as the loving, protective husband, but behind the scenes, his possessiveness seems to have been a constant source of tension in his marriage. His obsession with controlling how Blake is seen, both by the public and within their marriage, is deeply unsettling. The fact that Reynolds is willing to risk everything, his career, his reputation, and even his marriage, just to keep that control shows just how deep his insecurities run. And let's be clear, Blake Lively isn't completely innocent in this mess. But blaming it all on her wouldn't be fair. Sure, she played a role in the emotional affair with Baldoni, but at the core of this entire ordeal are Reynolds' manipulative tactics. Candace Owens has never been one to stay silent, and her take on the drama between Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and Justin Baldoni is no exception. She claims that the lawsuit surrounding Lively's emotional affair with Baldoni isn't what it seems at all. While many believe the lawsuit is Lively's way of reclaiming her narrative, Owens sees it differently. She argues that Ryan Reynolds is the true mastermind behind it all, not to protect his wife or family but to satisfy his own ego. Owens argues that the real target of this lawsuit isn't Blake Lively, it's Justin Baldoni. She believes Reynolds is pulling the strings not for justice but to ruin Baldoni's career. According to Owens, Reynolds is deeply insecure and willing to do whatever it takes to protect his image, even if it means destroying others in the process. She even claims he manipulated the media, using outlets like the New York Times to push a narrative that feeds his own insecurities. The article in question, which heavily criticized Baldoni, became the foundation of Reynolds' PR strategy. Owens claims that Reynolds' team was directly involved in the smear campaign that damaged Baldoni's reputation. According to her, the media's portrayal of Baldoni's connection with Lively wasn't just bad luck. It was a calculated move by Reynolds to ruin Baldoni's career and protect his own fragile ego. Owens also suggests that Reynolds' motivations go far beyond just this legal battle. She argues that his actions are rooted in deep emotional insecurity, ones tied to unresolved personal issues he's never truly faced. This lawsuit isn't really about protecting Blake or clearing her name, it's about hiding Reynolds' own vulnerabilities. His public image as the charming, witty actor everyone adores is nothing like the reality behind closed doors. Owens hints that there's something deeper at play, suggesting that Reynolds isn't acting out of love for Blake, but out of a desperate need to control a life that's slipping through his fingers. The real question is, why would Blake Lively, a successful actress and seemingly devoted wife, develop feelings for someone like Justin Baldoni, a co-star she barely knew before it ends with us? According to some insiders, the answer lies in a long-standing pattern. Blake has a history of forming deep emotional connections with the men she works with. From her rumored closeness with Ben Affleck during The Town to her deep connection with Penn Badgley on Gossip Girl, Blake has a history of forming intense emotional bonds with her co-stars. This pattern has followed her throughout her career, suggesting that her strongest emotional ties often stem from the professional relationships she builds on set. Blake's emotional affair with Justin Baldoni isn't just a one-time mistake. It's part of a bigger pattern in her life. But what makes this situation stand out is the timing. She was married to Ryan Reynolds, a man whose public image as a devoted family man seemed untouchable. Yet behind the scenes, Blake was stuck in a marriage that apparently wasn't fulfilling her emotional needs. According to some, Blake's role wasn't just that of a wife, it was that of a beard, someone used to maintain the illusion of a perfect family while her husband possibly explored his own personal desires and struggled with aspects of his sexuality. The theory that Blake was merely a beard isn't new, but it gains even more credibility when looking at the dynamics of her relationship with Reynolds. Despite their picture-perfect image, something always seemed a little off. In public, Blake played the role of the devoted wife, standing by Reynolds at award shows and praising him in interviews, but was it all just for show? But her bond with Baldoni painted a completely different picture. Here was a man who showed her genuine affection, making her feel truly valued and understood in ways Reynolds seemingly never could. While their connection wasn't physical, it spoke volumes about the cracks in Blake's marriage and what she might have been missing with Reynolds. Blake's feelings for Baldoni weren't just about seeking emotional support. They were a reaction to a marriage that seemed more focused on maintaining an image than real intimacy. While the public saw Blake and Reynolds as the perfect it couple, the truth behind closed doors was far more complicated. Blake had spent years in a marriage where she was expected to be the perfect wife, mother, and Hollywood star, all while supporting Reynolds' carefully crafted image. But when she met Justin Baldoni, she finally found someone who saw her as more than just a symbol. He recognized her emotional needs and treated her like a person, not just an accessory to his public life. For Ryan Reynolds, who had always controlled his image with precision, the fact that Blake had found something real was a direct threat to his power. And his response? To go on the attack. The lawsuit, the media manipulation, and the smear campaign against Baldoni weren't really about defending Blake's honor. They were about Reynolds desperately trying to regain control over a situation slipping through his fingers. He couldn't understand or accept what was happening, so he fought back the only way he knew how. Blake's feelings for Baldoni weren't just another Hollywood fling. They were a reflection of her deep dissatisfaction with a life that had been carefully orchestrated by someone else. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman have always shared a playful, brotherly dynamic that fans love, but a closer look suggests there might be more beneath the surface. While Reynolds openly admires Jackman, the warmth and enthusiasm he shows toward him stand in stark contrast to the colder, more distant way he speaks about his own wife, Blake Lively. It's not just the playful jokes or friendly banter. There's a noticeable depth to Reynolds and Jackman's bond that makes you wonder if their connection goes beyond just friendship. Reynolds has often gushed about Jackman, calling him a true gentleman and one of the nicest people he's ever met. But it's more than just casual compliments. There's a genuine warmth in his tone when he talks about Jackman, a kind of admiration that doesn't seem as present when he speaks about Blake Lively. Reynolds has made affectionate remarks about Jackman that go beyond typical friendship, hinting at a bond that seems deeper than what most men share with their friends. For example, Reynolds once stated that Jackman was the best part of his career and that their friendship meant the world to him. These aren't just casual compliments. They suggest a deep emotional connection that goes beyond what's typically expected in a friendship. What makes this dynamic even more intriguing is the stark contrast in how Reynolds talks about Lively. His public comments about her often feel reserved, even detached, especially when compared to the warmth and enthusiasm he expresses for Jackman. This glaring difference has only fueled speculation that his bond with Jackman might be far more complex than it seems.
I am genuinely rooting for you all the time. I want you to win. It's the same way I feel about Blake. As I'm rooting for her, I know she's rooting for me, and that's why we're so connected.
Over the years, Reynolds and Jackman have shared countless inside jokes, with Reynolds even playfully calling Jackman his bromance. He's made tongue-in-cheek remarks about their closeness, and their interactions often carry a flirtatious undertone, leaving many to wonder if there's more to their relationship than just friendship.
That's what men do? That's what y'all do? Okay.
The public's growing curiosity about Reynolds' sexuality isn't just fueled by his flirtatious interactions with Jackman, it's also about how he behaves around his wife, Blake Lively. While he presents himself as a devoted husband and father, his public demeanor toward Lively often feels cold, even dismissive. In contrast, his bond with Jackman is filled with warmth, affection, and a level of openness that he rarely, if ever, shows with his wife.
Jackman first met Reynolds shortly before the younger actor debuted his version of Deadpool in 2008's X-Men Origins, Wolverine. Reynolds recalled Jackman welcoming him with open arms, and the two have been inseparable since.
This stark contrast has led some to speculate that Reynolds might be in denial about his true feelings, something that could be fueling the ongoing drama with Lively and Baldoni. His relationship with Jackman isn't just a light-hearted bromance. It could be the key to understanding Reynolds' deeper emotional struggles, hinting at issues far more complex than just his conflict with Lively.
I was nervous as hell, Reynolds remembered. I was walking through the trailers, jet-lagged, disoriented, feeling really green and kind of out of my depth. And I heard my name, Ryan. in between these trailers as I was walking, and it was you.
The dynamic between Reynolds and Jackman offers a revealing lens into Reynolds' actions in the legal and media battle involving his wife and Justin Baldoni, suggests that his marriage to Blake Lively may be more of a facade, a carefully maintained image rather than a true reflection of his feelings. In this scenario, Lively isn't just a wife. She's a pawn in Reynolds' effort to control both his public persona and personal life.
Just the fact that you knew my name meant so much to me. And you came over, you gave me a big hug, and you said, "Welcome aboard."
But this also raises a bigger question. How much of Reynolds' behavior is actually driven by his own internal conflicts? His possessiveness toward Lively and his relentless pursuit of Baldoni might not be about protecting his family at all. Instead, it could be a desperate attempt to cling to an image he's carefully built, one that no longer fits who he truly is.
But it's not normal behavior. It's not normal thinking.
Now, turning to Blake Lively's role in this saga, there's a major gap between how the media portrays her and her actual involvement. While many see her as a victim caught in the crossfire of Reynolds' insecurities, Candace Owens argues that Lively is far more complicit than people realize.
This sounds like he called my name, and I was like, oh my gosh. Like, That's what we doing?
Owens believes that Lively's emotional affair with Baldoni is a central piece of the drama, and it's not just a case of a wife being manipulated by her husband. In Owens' view, Lively was an active participant in the affair, which complicates the narrative of her being just a victim.
However, Jackman reported their friendship has taken on new dimensions in the last few years. He and Reynolds now turn to each other for tough advice and to share their deepest fears.
Lively's emotional attachment to Baldoni didn't happen overnight. Their connection grew throughout the filming of It Ends With Us, and as their bond deepened, it became clear that Lively was emotionally invested. While Reynolds may have seen it as a betrayal, Lively's feelings weren't just about infidelity. They were about finding someone who made her feel valued and seen, something she may have felt was missing in her marriage to Reynolds.
Because you're an unbelievable listener, Jackman said. So you can tell me anything, and I can tell you anything, and I don't feel like you're going to be judging or necessarily giving me the answer. Do this, and I think that has been the key.
In this sense, Blake isn't just a passive figure caught in the legal and media battle. She's an active participant in the emotional storm that erupted between her, Reynolds, and Baldoni. What makes this even more complex is the stark contrast between her public image and her private reality. On one hand, she's portrayed as a wife trying to restore her family's perfect image after an emotional affair, but behind the scenes, the truth appears far messier.
There's probably fewer friends in our life that you can say anything to. The stuff you're ashamed, embarrassed, anything. He has never said this about his wife. But he can share all his secrets. It essentially looks like pillow talk to me.
On the other hand, her actions with Baldoni reveal a deeper longing, an emotional need that went unfulfilled in her marriage. This duality adds layers to her role in the entire saga. While she may not have initiated the legal battle or been the aggressor in the conflict with Baldoni, her emotional involvement complicates the narrative of her as a victim. Blake's affair isn't just about her relationship with Reynolds. It's about a larger betrayal unfolding in the public eye. Her connection to Baldoni ultimately becomes more significant than Reynolds' accusations of harassment.
Something's not right. They're constantly making gay jokes. I mean, standing in front of Ryan Reynolds to put his Hugh Jackman to put his behind in his crotch. I mean, trying to kiss each other on camera. And
within the legal and media battle, the affair is framed as Lively's rebellion against Reynolds' controlling behavior. It's clear she wasn't just responding to circumstances. She made a choice, one driven by deep emotional dissatisfaction. This emotional betrayal only adds to the tangled web of personal and public conflict surrounding the couple. So now you see why Baldoni was the one she fell for, but do you think that's the real reason? Drop your thoughts in the comments.